Hello and welcome. My name is Andy Griggs and I'm with the If the Shoe Fits Collaborative. You can read more about us on the back of your program, but not now.
Okay.
That's the teacher in me. I used to teach over here at Grape Street Elementary School.
Wow.
So several years ago. And so it's thrilling for me to be back here. And many a time I took my students over to the Watchtowers Arts Collective. It's really great to be back here in this seed of where I did my educational work. So that's great. The show you're about to see is it's not the happiest of shows. It's not your rollicking comedy, but it's about an issue that's of importance to all of us. And we hope, the reason we do it on the 23rd of each month is that every day there are over 80,000 people across the United States who spend 23 hours a day in total solitude, without contact with any other human beings. And so we chose the 23rd, and it's part of a statewide coalition of groups. I want to thank a lawsuit had been brought against the state of California for the way it used solitary confinement, and the state and the plaintiffs made a decision, and you'll hear more about that afterwards in a discussion. The cast is, starting on my right, is J.C. Cadena. Jumping all the way to the left is Connie Williams. Henry Ramirez. And over here we have Michael McCarty, Andrea Ross, Lee Beck, and Adrian Ziegler. And thank you, enjoy. I'll be back at the end of the show and we'll talk some more. Thanks very much.
All I have is this paper, this pen, and the truth. I write to you as a survivor of torture, soon to experience more, in hopes that you will use my account as you see fit to shed a light on the use of torture in the United States. My name is Sean Swain, Mansfield Correctional Institute, Ohio.
My name is JRF within a cage. How can you lock me up in a cage, within a cage for some misdeed done, within a cage? All you can do is feed my rage. You can't teach me anything good within a cage except monsters control the locks. And in my terror, I lost the key within a cage. I plead and I pray every day, but it simply gets worse within a cage. Empathy is lost in the DAYS days. Turn into a DAZE days within a cage.
In Oregon, long-term isolation units are called intensive management units, IMUs. In Pennsylvania, they're called restricted housing units, RHUs. In California and New York, they are security housing units, or SHUs. California and other states also use other euphemisms. Administrative segregation, despite the variety of names, the general practice of incarceration in these units and facilities are solitary confinement. Let's see if the shoe fits.
Statement from Pelican Bay SHU Short Corridor Collective.
Torture is unequivocally unacceptable under any circumstances.
But what has been unfolding in the SHU is a systematic use of torture by the state for years and decades.
Torture of both minds and bodies.
Of many thousands of prisoners.
To break them.
To either have them die in long-term solitary confinement or be driven insane through the psychological torture of years and decades of isolation.
We call for an end to all violence and hostility between all prisoners and between different groups of prisoners throughout the state of California, including those in SHU, ADSEG, general population, and county jails, beginning October 12, 2012.
We simply cannot allow CDCR, CCPOA, Prison Guards Union,
IGI,
IGU,
OCS,
and SSU to continue to get away with their constant form of warehousing of tens of thousands of prisoners, including the 14,000 plus prisoners held in solitary confinement torture chambers for decades.
And we can no longer allow CDCR to use us against each other for their own benefit. Because the reality is that collectively, we are empowered, a mighty force that can positively change this entire corrupt system into a system that actually benefits prisoners, and thereby the public as a whole.
The people have the power to change things now.
know this. Our spirit and resolve remains strong, and we know we can count on you all. Together, we can make it happen.
And not only for ourselves, but more importantly for the generations to come.
With the utmost solidarity, love, and respect, onward and struggling. Pelican Bay State Prison, Short Corridor Collective.
Arturo Castellanos, Short Corridor Collective.
Antonio Guillen, Short Corridor Collective.
Situat Natambu Jamal, slave name R.N. Dewberry, Short Corridor Collective.
My name is Todd Ashker. They're never going to let me out. I know that. I'm going to die here. But I have a choice. I can slowly rot, or I can fight. Fight to change things.
Pelican Bay State Prison, PBSP, is a supermax prison in Crescent City, California, explicitly designed to keep California's alleged worst of the worst. Prisoners in long-term solitary confinement are the ones that are called worst of the worst. It takes its name from a shallow bay on the Pacific coast about 2 miles to the west. The prison lies in a detached section of Crescent City that is several miles north of the main urban area.
The heat inside the bus was as stifling as the tension in the surrounding atmosphere. As the bus roared angrily down Highway 101, the trance-inducing drone of the big diesel engine lulled me into reflections of my life. Memories soared past me like the scenery flying by outside the barred tinted windows of anonymous gray goose, and as swiftly as the life I had lived thus far. The restless, dismal chimes of the shackles and chains broke me away from the melancholy spell I had fallen under. And what remained was the sudden realization that the world of oceans, mountains, landscapes was about to become but a memory of another lifetime. Looking around me, I found not to be alone in this realization, for the other prisoners seemed to be having similar thoughts, though no one dared to speak of them.
What awaited us at the Pelican Bay SHU, with its eerily silent corridors, was a purgatory of sorts, a vacuum of uncertainty, sealed off from everything and everyone. A place where one is virtually entombed in a concrete vault, with scarred and pitted walls depicting the idleness, boredom, and in some cases, the lunacy of a previous occupant.
Where, for the most part, refuge can only be found through a dreamless state of slumber.
There is a look in the SHU prisoner's eyes that is haunting, a foreboding look from eyes that have themselves stared into the eyes of madness and human cruelty, eyes that have looked far into the abyss of emptiness, eyes belonging to a species of a lesser god. My name is Hector Gallegos, Pelican Bay State Prison.
Prisoners in the SHU are there for varying lengths of time and are placed there for varying reasons. If one commits a specific crime or breaks a prison rule, he is given a determined amount of time in administrative segregation. But for those who have been accused of gang affiliation, also known as validation, their sentence is open-ended or indeterminate. Often the only way for them to get out of the SHU is to debrief. Name others who have gang affiliation.
My name is Siswa Jamal, slave name R.N. Dewberry, KDK, CDC, has held me in solitary confinement for the past 28 years for my political beliefs and spiritual morality as a new African Revolutionary Nationalist, NARN. If I undergo their debriefing, to which I have refused to do for the past 28 years, and shall not change my mind, I ask myself, what weight does customs hold under the law? For though it may be termed debriefing, using a euphemism does not change what it is. Betraying a confidence, committing an act of treachery for personal gain, considering how our community in the U.S. was brought into being, and considering the command and control needs which existed from the get-go. If any community has historical aversion to stoolies, tacklers, rats, and the like, isn't it ours? Therefore, I shall die before my tormentors, KDK, CDC, U.S. government, turn this freedom fighter into a debriefer. I shall never be found among the broken men of my era.
Before they caged the body, they caged the mind. They captured the soul by breaking the spirit. Negative thoughts of nothing. Can you cage a thought? Capture the wind? It's not the prison guards with the guns, but inmates and convicts who refuse to become one. No positive light, the prisoner's cage, the looks, the locks of the mind, negativity and self-hate, a refusal to be a positive light. Jealous of the next person because they want to live right. Like a person without sight, darkness into the middle of the night. Real prisons are scales of the mind, locks of negativity, standing in place and mocking time. Those who challenge every positive thought, ask them why. Is it to hold you back? Without a doubt. But it's a system that cages the body. But first, they must cage the mind. You hold the key with a positive mentality. Free yourself with positive thoughts. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't let your dreams become a nightmare. Negative thoughts are prisoners of the mind, standing in place and marking time like the darkness of the soul, a ball of confusion. The truth must be told. Can't you see? Only the truth can make you free. Positive thoughts are healing for the soul. Free the mind, and the body will follow. Before they cage the body, they cage the mind.
Yes.
It's not the prison guards with the gun, but inmates and convicts who refuse to become one. Negative thoughts of nothing, taking honey from the bees, make you kill your brother because you fail to see. Look in the mirror and see yourself, but you hold the key with a positive mentality. So unlock the door and come back to me. Merge the totality of mentality. Take a vacation from madness, a trip from sadness. See the light, hope and gladness, days without night. Can you cage a thought or capture the wind? It's all an illusion. But I'll say it again. Can you cage a thought or capture the wind?
Herman Wallace was a courageous fighter for justice, a political prisoner who this system locked up in the conditions of torture in solitary confinement for 41 years.
If death is the realm of freedom, then to death I escape to freedom, which is a quote from Franz Fanon. The title of this poem is A Defiant Voice. They removed my whisper from general population to maximum security. I gain a voice. They removed my voice from maximum security to administrative segregation. My voice gave hope. They removed my voice from administrative segregation to solitary confinement. My voice became vibrations of unity. They removed my voice from solitary confinement to Supermax of Camp J, and now they wish to destroy me. The louder my voice, the deeper they bury me. I said, the louder my voice, the deeper they bury me. We are all political prisoners, prisoners of war, prisoner of consciousness. I am Herman Wallace of the Angola 3.
On October 1st, 2013, Herman Wallace was finally freed after a federal judge ruled that his original indictment in the killing of a prison guard had been unconstitutional. 3 days later, on Friday morning, October 4, 2013, Herman Wallace died of cancer in New Orleans. He was 71. This is the reality of isolation.
I awoke to the sound of heavy raindrops pounding down on the steel bars of my captivity, only to smell within my memory the sweet scent of freedom being pumped through my cell, through an outside vent. The wet grass and smell of moist dirt was in my nostrils, reassuring me that concrete is only a man-made hill to deprive me of happiness once taken for granted. My name is Jack Morris.
I never seen the sky, felt the warmth of the sun or breeze pass by me, trees, grass, or raindrop. I never knew how painful it could be to be denied nature itself. I had a small, narrow window that didn't open, but all I could see was brick walls and nothing more. But I remember a small plant growing from within the cracks of the bricks. This was my only part of nature that gave me hope. As the wind would blow against the leaves of this plant, I would actually close my eyes and pretend that very wind was blowing against my face. Now I know this sounds crazy, but it's the only part of nature that I have. And then one day, I so desperately need to feel real air that I began to scrape the seal of the window with my fingertips. I was determined to make an opening. For 3 months of every day, I scraped and I scraped where my fingertips bleeded. I finally managed to make a very small opening. And there was only room to press one side of my nose against this opening at a time. And I would take such a deep breath. I finally managed to inhale a very small amount of air. But it's all I needed in order to survive. The officers there, they felt sorry for me. They gave me a paper and a pen to keep myself busy with being I had nothing. And there's where I started to doodle on paper. And from there is how I became an artist. Now, I never in my life knew how to draw. Couldn't draw a heart to save myself. But after 3 years of being locked like an animal in a cage, instead of letting it get to me, I put all my pain down on paper. Before you knew it, I had art. And this letter is from a 45-year-old mother of 3 housed in a segregation unit of a New Jersey state prison.
My name is Toby Chavez, New Mexico Penitentiary. Living life in solitary confinement has been the most horrendous experience I have had to endure in all my 43 years on this earth. I have been in prison for 15 years, 13 of them in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is designed to dehumanize, cause a person to become dependent, and spiritually break an inmate to the core of his soul. Each and every day that comes and goes takes a piece of humanity away from me, to the point I don't really know who I am. The lack of human contact I have with other inmates is like being thrown into a black hole and completely forgotten. I haven't been able to hug, kiss, or hold a family member in over 14 years. I'm not able to receive visits from my wife or have any type of real quality time with my loved ones. I'm stuck, alone, and have very few words I can speak with other human beings. I'm forced to eat every meal, exercise, and play games by myself. I laugh at myself sometimes because it's the only voice I can hear. My own shadow has literally become my only friend. If and when I get the opportunity to speak with my wife, mom, or loved ones, I have to put a mask with a smile on my face, because I never want them to see the monster I'm becoming by the psychological damage created by solitary confinement. I live each day contemplating death, throwing in the towel, and just calling it quits. A person can only take so much loneliness. My name is Toby Chavez, New Mexico Penitentiary.
The SHU on the mind is like drowning, or like being caught in quicksand. When you first realize your plight, you fight with all your might to save yourself. But at some point, you realize that your fate is irreversible, and your ultimate demise only a matter of time. So you let go. Hopelessness sets in, believing that no one can hear you, no one will help you, no one cares. You're so mentally worn out and exhausted, emotionally exhausted, that you cannot even help yourself. That sense of helplessness is the final distress that befalls SHU prisoners, long-term SHU prisoners, before the cruel and stupid, sadistic part of it all begins the descent into madness. My name is Martin Bibbs, Pelican Bay State Prison.
SHU syndrome now is when you begin to live and adapt to the distorted world of the SHU. In order to survive, exist, one must distort his mind to make an abnormal existence normal. It's the vision of reality. As you must adjust your eyes to light to bring into focus that which is around you, so must the SHU prisoner distort his mind in order to bring into focus his new reality. One cannot hold on to normalcy, for normal in an abnormal world is craziness. This fact is the battle of the SHU prisoner's soul, the death grip of sanity. The irony of it all is that for a SHU prisoner to hold on to his sanity, he must embrace, accept his insanity. It has been said for hundreds of years that those whom the gods wish to destroy first, they drive mad. This is the SHU objective.
My name is Darrell Burnett, Pelican Bay State Prison. Despite the mental, emotional, and physical challenges of enduring life inside these concrete tombs, based solely on the politics of paranoia and presumption of guilt, my spirit remains undauntedly resilient, free, and strong. I too consider myself progressive, and being warehoused inside these modern dungeons for almost 4 decades does not define my identity nor personhood. I reject the dehumanizing, demonizing, and denigrating labels of language that marginalizes my worth as a human being. To be no more valuable than a chimpanzee or other captive species imprisoned at the city zoo. Dr. Martin Luther King once said,
Every step towards the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless exertion and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. On many levels, Dr. King would be disappointed, especially when his own life and legacy has become so marginalized as if he was a New Age Santa Claus. He is only relegated to the "I have a dream" speech. He is portrayed as less critical, less challenging, less provocative. He would probably feel betrayed by some of the men who stood up shoulder to shoulder with him, but now misuse his name for personal gain and ambitions. No one ever speaks about his positions on war, poverty, and hunger. He would be disappointed at the indifference, lack of tolerance, mistrust, fear-mongering, economic inequalities, mass incarceration, economic disparities, homelessness, torture, senseless wars, racial profiling. I think we honor his legacy by continuing his unfinished work.
What about the families of those locked up in these tombs of the living dead? How does being isolated from their loved ones affect them? Many of them do continue to work.
My name is Alex Sanchez. Thank you to all the family members who are here that have loved ones inside of the prison. In 1993, there was a truce among the gangs. We know that getting people involved to do violence prevention in our communities have to come from people who used to be part of the problem.
My name is Marie Levin. My brother is Sitwa Jamal, who is in the SHU in Pelican Bay. Today is day 24 of the historic hunger strike of prisoners held in solitary confinement. The 5 core demands are just human things that you and I respect: in-group punishment and administrative abuse, abolish the debriefing policy, and modify the gang status criteria. Comply with the UN Commission recommendations to end long-term solitary confinement, provide nutritious food, create and expand constructive programs.
My name is Irene Huerta, and I am the wife of Gabriel Huerta. My husband has been in Pelican Creek for 28 years, and I stand here as a proud wife because my husband endured 3 hunger strikes. I told him that the CDC would not let us continue the fight, and here we are, continuing the fight. I want to thank all of the families.
My name is Georgiana Williams. My oldest son was in the SHU at Pelican Bay. You worry day by day if your child is okay. You can't visit them because they're so far away.
Right.
They can't call you. You wonder if your child is alive or dead. All you can do is write them.
Right.
And all I can do is pray.
I know.
All I have is this pen, this paper, and the truth. I write to you as a survivor of torture, soon to experience more, in hopes that you would use my account here as you see fit to shed a light on the use of torture in the United States. When you give your passive consent for your government to torture anyone, you have relinquished power to your government to torture everyone. Your government subjected me to torture. I'm first, you're next.
Can I tell y'all a story?
Yeah.
During one retaliatory stint in segregation, I learned of torture cell 182. I did not know the name of the man who was in that cell, the cell that was next to mine. He spoke only broken English. His cell had no bedding. He had no toothbrush, no cloth, no soap. The temperature was uncomfortably cold. Even for me, with all of my clothing and wrapped in a blanket. So the victim in torture cell 182, just to keep from experiencing hypothermia, had to pace 24 hours a day. All day, all night, for days. I came back to Mansfield Correctional in 2009 and was placed on the gang list for my religious belief. I was taken to a row of cells hidden behind the medical clinic. The cell I was placed in had no bed, no mattress. And just like my neighbor long ago in torture cell 182, I had to pace 24 hours a day just to stay warm. I could not sleep. But I survived. And since September, 2 other of the state's victims have not. I do not know their names, but the prisoners have died on torture cell rows since I was fortunate enough to be removed from there. They died, perhaps pacing the same cold cement floor that I paced. Hour after hour, day after day, feeling 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. I now face the rest of my life in Supermax, locked in a concrete tomb, dying in complete isolation. I have been approved to be transferred to this torture facility by psychological professionals. And they've affirmed that I am sane enough to be driven crazy.
Last night, another girl hung herself. as they drug her out of her cell and down the stairs and put her on the stretcher, it occurred to me that it's become so common it hurts. I woke up out of my sleep and got off my bunk, got a sip of water, and looked out the window. And there they were, silently dragging her out. No alarm, no sense of emergency or urgency. Just your run-of-the-mill, ordinarily scheduled suicide. Nothing special going on here, just all in a day's work. I laid in my bed praying over her spirit, and that her spirit would fight for her life, since she obviously didn't have the strength to fight for it herself. By the time breakfast rolled around, her bed was already filled by a new inmate. Like rotating cattle. And it's frustrating, because what one person can I be angry with? I feel like an itty-bitty worm on a big-ass hook. I may not like women around me. I may not even speak to men. But I never, for one tiny second, never ever do I forget that we are all in this struggle together. Each one of these women is a part of me. Each one is worthy of better than this.
Last summer, we went on a hunger strike. We were willing to starve ourselves to death rather than to endure these dehumanizing conditions forever. We ended the strike because several compassionate legislators promised to hold the hearings that are taking place today.
Yet today, the legislators will hear from psychologists, lawyers, other experts, corrections officials, but not from us, who have the most experience with the conditions we face, because California CDCR prison officials refuse to let us testify, even remotely via video or audio.
It is a sham.
This new reform effort still maintains the basic conditions at Pelican Bay and will continue to keep prisoners in isolation for vague gang affiliations based on artwork, literature, communications, or informant's testimony that does not meet California's judicial standards for reliability in criminal trials.
We have written petitions and letters to the governor, filed a class action federal lawsuit, and gone on hunger strikes, seeking real reform, not the bogus reform California officials now propose. It's time for California to do the right things. It's time for the legislator to enact meaningful reforms.
What else are some of the alternatives to solitary confinement, and what can we do right now?
Begin using the Mississippi model, where reform of the classification system led to a significant reduction of the solitary confinement population at Parchment State Penitentiary, leading to significant decreases in violence.
Support mental health alternatives to solitary confinement in jails and prisons, including individuals and group therapy, regular access to psychiatrists, substance abuse counseling, specialized psychiatric service units, discharge planning, and community reentry assistance.
Implement training for correctional officers on how to respond to individuals experiencing psychiatric crises in ways that de-escalate rather than escalate these crises.
Inmates not be placed in isolation longer than 72 hours.
Impose a 7-day limit on supermax stays for inmates being investigated for in-prison crimes.
Stop the brutal cell extractions of uncooperative and often mentally ill inmates.
And use informal sanctions to discipline unruly prisoners, like taking away commissary or recreational privileges as alternatives to solitary confinement.
Create an independent monitoring board, IMB, consisting of local volunteers who perform inspections of the facility and submit an annual report.
Juveniles, given their physical and mental immaturity, should never be subjected to solitary confinement.
Meet the 5 core demands of the California hunger strikes. A quote by Fyodor Dostoevsky to remember. The degree of civilization in a society can be judged by entering its prisons.
I shall not die. I shall not die 1,000 deaths of compromise, giving up names in exchange for food or a blanket. I would rather bite my own arm to smother my screams and rob you of the satisfaction when you disassemble me. I shall not die shamefully, my chin against my chest, kneeling before the humiliating hole I dug for myself, waiting upon that pistol shot. I will always refuse the blindfold. I shall not die abandoned and alone, obliterated from the memories of those that I love. My fate never questioned. Someone will always stand in the rain outside your office window, my name on a cardboard sign, no matter how many times you cut my throat or hang me from my bedsheet, bludgeon me with your nightstick, or fire your bullets into my brain, whether you encircle me in a South African Bantu stand, or a Coca-Cola factory in Bolivia, or an alley behind the stone wall, or a prison in the heart of it all, I shall not die. A million times, I shall not die. I shall not die. You will only get my damn corpse. That's all you're gonna get. My name is Sean Swain. All I have is this pen and this paper and the truth. Y'all please remember that I live.
My name is Robert Stockton. This is my poem, Living Tomb.
Suddenly, we found ourselves without the world's care, for the cold and desolate embrace our stare.
Through endless mazes we walk and change, and with each passing day, it seems less and less strange.
With a will not broken, only tested the time, we send words to our loved ones.
We're doing just fine.
There's nothing to compare it to but small personal lives. We do anything to keep our needless tears in their eyes.
New rehabilitation as a castaway, whether young or old, means we're tossed into a place with no hope to hold.
To escape, we walk circles under a still screen, trying to find a way to kiss the sun's beam.
We stand alone, arguing what to do.
No one really knows the pressures we stoop.
Rules come and go, change your direction like the wind, but when you think you've found comfort, a new struggle begins.
Some stand agitated at the back of their cells.
Some scream out insane and broken up shells.
We might have a glimpse of what we all see.
Or a mental picture of a soul who's not free.
But no one can really see behind the gray walls that gloom.
Or walk where we walk,
Embraced
by a